It's interesting, all this true crime, because today I found the lost Gacy interview.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
With Jason Moss?
No.
Oh, no?
No, but I call it the lost Gacy interview because it's lost to me. I'd never heard it. I was pretty excited. It was Robert Ressler in 1993. I think it's the year he was executed, actually. And here, I'll just cue it to any point and see what happens. It's crazy. Let's see what John's talking about. Oh, wait. Oh, I got to turn that off.
Your Bluetooth on.
Shit.
That's cool.
Is that Jason?
Yeah.
Settings.
Wow, sounds been interesting.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
That's the guy that interviewed Gacy so many times. And his reactions were so weird that
Are they mean to you? Are they your friends?
they became pretty big drops on the show for a while.
Rest in peace, Jason. That's a
Did he die?
weird story, too.
You know, it's really.
When did he
weird.
die?
He killed himself on 6/6/06.
Yeah,
He got really deep and
he got into serial killers. He would send them letters posing as their perfect victim. Like to Gacy, go, yeah, hi, I'm like 17. I'm a teenage runaway, and I really need some guidance or something.
Yeah.
So, like, how you doing?
And Casey's like,
And Gacy would be
all
like,
over
oh
that.
my God, I got to write this guy right back. And he wrote to Dahmer. I forgot what was his post to Dahmer.
I don't know, but Dahmer saw right through his bullshit.
Yeah, there he is with Gacy. And Gacy gave him a pair of panties. Gacy pulled a pair of panties out of his underwear. It was all crinkled up. He's like, here's some underwear to beat off to.
That's cool.
Well, let's see what Gacy was talking about. I'll just go to some rando spot.
He was 20 years old. Insofar as being bisexual, if I wanted to engage in sex, Rossi and Cram were willing to go down on me anytime I wanted to.
Of course.
Providing they were given stuff.
Now, when the search warrants were effected in your case, they did find an awful lot in the crawl space of your home, did they not?
Well, yeah, I had offered to sell him the house because I thought there was nothing down in the crawl space.
Yeah.
I had never...
What's that have to do with
You
it?
just contradicted yourself.
Well, how many bodies
Didn't
were
exactly know.
actually located on the property and where?
To my understanding, there was a total of 29 bodies.
I don't know where they came from.
Were found. On the
Yeah,
property.
Gacy claims that he had 12 sets of keys to his house. He gave them out to his employees. So, if you wanted to go party over there, bring a girl over or whatever, you come over to my place and use it whenever you want. It's like a benefit of working for Gacy.
Oh, and so people would just come over and plant underage
bodies, yes.
boys there?
Well, what happened was Gacy was partying with this teenage runaway, and this teenage runaway tried to knife him to death, and they fought over the knife, and Gacy killed the guy, and he put him in the crawl space. And he actually says he might have revealed it to his employees when he was drunk or something. So he thinks that they started killing people, and so they did that to frame him.
Yeah, they were
started just putting him-
copycats. They were copycat murderers.
Because he didn't even fit in the crawl space. He could not have dug
I
anything
believe
in the crawl
that.
space. But then he just revealed that he did bury one guy there. It's like, Gacy, you're contradicting yourself.
It's pretty smart of him. He's admitting a little bit of guilt, just not all of it.
Did he also say, to my understanding, there were 29 bodies? How close was he?
33.
Oh, see, he tried to be a little bit off.
That's been interesting.
Yeah, but Gacy, it's weird.
Pretend
Everyone
they
in
act
his
dumb.
orbit is so fucking horny. Like
Yeah.
those two guys you was talking about, Rossi and Zika. Yeah, they would go down on me whenever I wanted them to, as long as I gave them something. It's like these two guys who just were dying to go down on Gacy.
Oh, he's a pretty attractive
He
guy.
started coming on to me.
No, he thought he was hot. And everything was a sexual situation to him. It's amazing. Let me see if I can find the copycats part, because that's the part I was just talking
Get
about.
on your knees and get on it.
But he's...
Hey, it is Monday. It is Gacy night. It's Monday Night Football night.
That's true. It's hard to turn Gacy off. When you hear him talking, it's like, I feel the same way about George Harrison and John Lennon. They're really very listenable. And Gacy, I have
all the
same
great
way.
artists.
I can't turn him off.
What are you talking about?
And he
You never know what he's going to say.
I think it's because of his voice.
He kept-
I think he just has that thick Chicago
He has that
accent.
Chicago accent. He talks about clowning a lot, like
Clowning.
being a clown, but he calls it, when I'm out clowning, I love being around the kids, and, it's just a good family activity. I'm a civics guy. So here he's
It's not a
talking.
love affair. The object is that
He's
you're
always
both
involved in
getting
his
around.
community, right?
He is. No, he's a great community guy. The
He-
JCs, he got the membership of the
Right.
JCs from 150 to 400 people. He was man of the year, and he did it by showing stag films.
That's
I used pornography to up the participation. That's why I was man of the year.
Remember his sexual education diploma that he made up? And
Oh,
hung up,
yeah.
too?
He had it hanging on his wall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know how
And you have to show it off, too.
It's going to make people horny. He knows so much about sex.
Right, so here's what
Didn't
we
he-
learned as far as him being framed. This is bullshit.
Didn't he also have a chapter of the JCs in prison?
Yeah,
He formed it.
He invented it. He started it. No, he was very civic minded.
He's a go-getter.
Anyway, this is how he got framed, or one of the ways he got framed.
That's what killed him. So,
At that point, you yourself did bury him then in the crawl space.
right, and if you notice, he's under concrete.
Did you bury any of the others in the crawl space?
No, I had nothing. I had no knowledge of him.
Yeah. Well, why is it that your first one is there, and then 20 some others are buried down there as well? Did somebody know that you had done this with the first one, that giving them an ID,
More than likely, when drinking and getting high with the others, yeah.
sending it to them? So you feel others then followed your suit in using this as a burial ground?
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Just want to highlight on John Szyc. They want to make such an issue over John Szyc and his disappearance. I think he was killed for his car, personally.
And your personal knowledge of the Szyc case then is
My personal knowledge of the Szyc case is that I had come home and Szyc and Rossi were at the house. I had a few drinks. I went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, Rossi was sleeping on the couch and Szyc was dead on the floor. I went
crazy.
about my own business, and
Yeah, I don't wanna mess
he
with
was
that.
gone later on.
And where did he go? Where did he end up?
I assumed he ended up in the crawl space.
Did you see him being transported down there?
No, wasn't present. Didn't do the transporting.
But when he was dead on the floor?
He was dead on the floor. Yes.
Those had to be the two guys that would blow him whenever he wanted, by the way.
Oh, man. That's sad. He'd have to go find someone else to do
What a
that.
loss.
Well,
Thankfully,
no,
he's super hot.
No, the killer was alive, so there was just one guy that would blow him whenever he wanted.
Oh, okay.
So, but still, when you lose one out of two that will blow you whenever
Yeah.
you want, that sucks.
Yeah.
Let me see what else he was talking about here.
It is such a ridiculous. They copycat kill.
I know. It's so
That's
preposterous.
a pretty good idea you got there, Johnny. I'm going to start doing it. What are you talking about? It's not
He
what-
thinks on his feet, though.
Oh, this is I can't believe
He
everything.
thinks on
There's
his
so
feet.
much,
Got
there's
it
so
done.
much sexual activity going on. I mean, it blows my mind. Here he's talking about. I think he's talking about somebody making snuff films. Like, who knows people that make snuff films? What
A
the
Man About
fuck?
Town, John Wayne Gacy.
I know exactly, but I mean, the horniest people are always around Gacy. It's almost like it's not his fault.
He's a victim.
Well, when that many horny people are around you, it's crazy. It's just totally nuts. Wait, let's see, 26, 25. Okay, yeah, here it comes. I think this is it.
Michael Rossi, David Cram.
That's the guy that blew him whenever he wanted.
Paskey. Here we've got a Philip Paskey who had a newsletter going on at the Cook County Jail. And here he is involved with a guy named John Norman. And John Norman was running Boys for Hire. They were making snuff films with young boys. To me, they were pimping them off. They were selling them.
See how Baldy is?
Crossover, when we checked into John Norman's background, that he goes all the way back to the early 70s, involved in, he ran the Norman Foundation, he ran Epic International, and the Odyssey Foundation out of Dallas, Texas. And these were organizations where wealthy men could hire young boys for sexual weekends.
This is like in the 70s.
Male
Had
prostitution.
you ever met Norman? You ever had any contact with Norman?
I have yet to see a current picture of him, and therefore I'd have to say no.
He's one of the people dead in the crawl space.
Phil
He's
Paskey
never met him.
had been with him at one time or another because, see, again, I came home from out of town at times, and Phil Paskey would be at the house drinking beer or something like that.
Because there were 12 sets of keys. So people were always
Cram was the
partying.
one that brought Phil Paskey in, because his
Hey, Phil Paskey, what a great name. What a great Chicago name.
He said, well, this guy can get you somebody for sex. I have a lot of things.
See, I mean, there's people are so horny.
He is the king of red herrings, isn't he?
He is, yes.
Still remember that, but yet I can go into the 70s, and there are a lot of things I can't remember. The same thing with the victims. I've looked at all of, I don't know if you notice here, we got pictures of every one of the victims here, and believe it or not, for the last 12 years, I've studied these photos of the victims.
Bet you did.
He's looking at him right now.
Got off.
We have a shot of all of the victims together here.
He doesn't recognize any of them.
And when you look over at the photos, I have no recollection of any of them. Never met them. and we've gone over this more than once. They're just names and faces, and when you look at them, the thing of it is, we took it a step further. We went into their backgrounds. I wanted to know where they were at, what
Of course you
schools
did,
they
John.
attended, who they hung out with, and what kind of activities they were into. And
It's
that's what we dug
investigating.
up on each one of the victims. But still, there is no association. None of them never worked for me. None of them, they never went to any places that I ever hung around, because I didn't hang around that many places unless you were involved in politics.
Yeah, he was involved in the
right.
civics.
You were involved in clowning. Then
Yeah.
Clowning.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I love clowning.
Clowning.
That's the coolest verb.
Isn't there that famous picture of him and Rosalind Carter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, how bizarre. Okay, this is, I'll just wrap it up with, this is John talking about the 34th victim, which I don't think a lot of people are familiar with. The 34th victim is wild. Come on, John.
Oh, Johnny.
the 34th victim.
Oh.
They've got all that jewelry that doesn't belong to the victims. They've got the 2 clown suits that don't belong to the victim. Just like I consider myself the 34th victim,
Oh,
consider
God.
the families victims as well, because they did not get justice from the shoddy investigation all the way down through.
I love his concern for the victims.
He's the 34th
I
victim.
told you when the FBI first came in to check on me, you said that you were kept out of the case back in '78, and that was only because of egos. They did not want a professional coming in and doing an investigation, so they did their sloppy investigation and let it slide that way. You see, everybody was so excited about the large, massive case, and everybody was looking with their egos as to how they could close this thing up. And you know the only one that they really hurt? You've had the victim's family vent all their hostility towards me, and they think I'm the monster that killed their son or took out their son and stuff like that, when in fact most of them don't even have the remains of their own sons. That's another thing everybody misses from this, is that the victims' families are not aware that in a lot of the cases they don't even have the remains of their own sons. Because Dr. Stein never turned over the whole body, and they took the heads off of each one of the victims.
What?
So when you turn over the remains to a loved one's family, they don't have the whole body.
How fucked up is that they took the heads
can't
off the
believe they would do
victims,
that.
and
Well, I
Gacy
mean-
is the one that exposes them.
Exactly. Just because those guys are all about their egos, and I'm Mr. Humble John Wayne
They
Gacy.
take their heads off, and they don't even return them to the victims' families. That's crazy.
I love this idea that their egos are out of control. What about you, John?
Do you really think they took the heads off the victims?
no.
What the fuck?
He
are
probably
you talking
did and
about?
buried them elsewhere.
That's kind of what makes him exciting. Is he talks out of his ass like nobody, and also the
He's a
fact that
pretty convincing bullshitter.
he's
No, okay, let me rephrase it. He's a pretty confident bullshitter.
very confident, but his bullshit falls apart really fast. But
But by then, you're onto something else.
True, I know. And everyone is fucking horny as hell around him. Everybody wants to have sex with dudes. He says at one point that he's not homosexual, but he did have sex with guys a lot. But he did a lot of it to rebel against his dad.
That was part of his sex diploma he had, where he's like, "There's only 2 kinds: homosexuals."
I'm not a homosexual. I had sex with men, but I think that was rebelling against my dad.
Fuck that stigma.
Fuck this.
These 2 guys, I'm dying to know this one guy, Rossi, who I think is alive, would
Oh,
go
man.
down on Gacy whenever he wanted. I want to find out more
Especially
about
tonight, right?
And this guy was,
that. Yes.
he was about 2 or 3 years younger than me. He was married. His wife was about to have a baby. So every Monday night, we used to watch the NFL Monday Night Football. So anyhow, he was married and I'm married, and my wife used to go over to his house all the time. So on Monday night, he used to come over, and we would be in the rec room watching television. And you know how the subject with guys
Of course.
get on the sex, and he says he's not getting none, and she won't go down on him and all this and that. And I said, well, why the hell don't you go find something else? You know.
What a guy John
And
is.
then he started coming on to me.
Of course.
And it's the strangest, because I would have never thought of him being bi. You know, I had already been.
Everybody's so horny when they get around John.
I never thought he was. But he was talking about how horny he was. And he ended up
Because he's
going
around
down on
you.
me.
Yeah.
And then each week it progressed to more and more stuff
Ugh.
for the whole season, the whole NFL season. He liked to be submissive. And yet here's a guy that, you know, he had one kid and his wife was getting ready to have the second kid. He was an insurance man.
Oh, nice doxing him.
But it wasn't about bodies. He was just the sensation of getting off. And that's what I was trying to tell you. Because I asked the guy, I says, why do you like going down on me? He says, I don't know. He says, it's not so much as he says, it's when I get you off. Feeling the power that I feel.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You know, I said, okay.
There's nothing like getting
And
Gacy
then
off.
he'd get warned, you know, each week, come over, we'd have our beer, watch the football game, and every one of them ended up doing the same thing. Either he was catching it one way or the other.
Oh, God.
So that's the other funny thing about these Gacy interviews is that everyone wants him to keep talking, so they agree with everything he says. Like when he's like,
Yeah.
you want to go down on me? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I see what you're saying.
What? No, that doesn't make any sense. No one wants to go down on
that's what you're
Gacy.
saying.
But everyone just wants to keep him talking, so they agree
Yeah.
with all the crazy shit he says.
That's cool. Wow, I thought it's been interesting.
Was there much information about Jason's death, like what the end of his life was like, why he fell apart?
I think he was just deep into, I want to say, was
Satanism?
he going back after Richard Ramirez and all that? And
Yeah, he was pen pals with Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
But I thought that fizzled out during The Last Victim, but I want to say he started studying up on the occult and stuff like that before he killed himself.
Oh, boy.